Good morning, Alvin. Today we're going to have a conversation about kind of one of the reasons why we factor. We are going to try to solve equations that require factoring in order to solve them. If we have an equation that looks like x squared minus 3x, make this minus 18. One of the reasons that this class is linked is because you need to understand previous material in order to move on to the new stuff. In the new unit, we're going to be working on solving equations and a few different methods for doing that. The first one, which should be the easiest based on the last unit if you completed it, is solving by factoring. Okay? Now, first of all, this is not an equation. This is just an expression. Equations require an equal sign. This has to equal something. When you are solving by factoring, the first thing that you have to do is make sure that it is equal to 0. And if your equation is not equal to 0, you need to make it equal to 0. So if I had like a 5 over here, I would need to subtract 5 from both sides. Okay? So x squared minus 3x minus 18 equals 0. The first step, after making sure that it's set equal to 0, factor. Okay? This is an equation we know how to deal with. We don't even have a leading coefficient, so the factoring is a little bit easier. We've got x on both sides. My factors of 18. 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. And by addition or subtraction, which one will give me a negative 3? I'm going to want 3 minus 6 plus 3 minus 6, and we are still equal to 0. Okay? So the first step is factoring. We know we're equal to 0. We factor. So now we've got both of these equations. Now, if everything in here, remember that if we have two parentheticals next to each other, these are getting multiplied together. Okay? And if I plug in something for x, if I substitute in for x, if I say x equals 2, and I plug 2 in, okay? Let's just try 2 and see what happens. If I plug 2 in, 2, because x is 2, 2 plus 3 is 5, 2 minus 6 is negative 4, 5 times negative 4 is negative 20, negative 20, that's not true. That's not the right answer, because we're trying to get 0. But I know that I'm trying to multiply this to this. And if I'm looking for 0, well, 0 times anything is 0. So if I can get the result of either of these parentheticals here to equal 0, it doesn't matter what the other side is. 0 times anything is 0. So let's set both equations. Let's create two new equations. Set equal to 0. So x plus 3 equals 0, and x minus 6 equals 0. Okay? Well, over here we're going to subtract 3 from both sides, and x will equal negative 3. Over here we will add 6 to both sides, and x will equal 6. So x can equal either negative 3 or x can equal 6. Let's check our answers. If we take this negative 3 and plug it in here, negative 3 plus 3 is 0, which is what we're looking for. 6 minus 6 is a negative 12. 0 times negative 12 is 0. It worked. So let's check our 6 answer. Negative 3, we're checking our 6 answer. 6 plus 3 is 9. 6 minus 6 is 0. I had 12 for the last one, didn't I? Sorry. And then I did the math back. Sorry. I should have plugged in a negative 3, got a negative 9 for the last problem. That was my bad. Sorry. 9 now times 0 also equals 0. So that works out. So we are getting 0. So that's the trick. You need to have something that's equal to 0, and then factor it, and then solve both of those equations. I'll do one more, and then I'm going to set you loose, and I'm going to try really hard not to screw up the math this time. That plus is in incorrectly. All right, so let's go with x squared. Let's go with 4x squared plus 9 equals yeah, something good. So look at this, okay? Based on everything I just told you, we can't do it because it's not equal to 0. And we need things equal to 0 here, okay? So the first thing that we do is set it equal to 0. And you can't just set it equal to 0 because now you're changing the equation. And we change the way things are written, but the equation is really the same. Okay, we can't change the values like that. But we can subtract 34 from both sides. And then we will have 4x squared, 9 minus 34, is negative 25, equals 0. So now this is something that we can play with. Okay? Now hopefully you notice that this is a difference of squares. Okay? This will be square root here is 2x, square root here is 5. So this is a pretty easy thing to factor. Both square roots, and then plus or minus the other square root. Okay, that's still equal to 0. So I can keep writing back. I'm going to move over here and just rewrite both of those equations. So let's 2x plus 5 equals 0, and 2x minus 5 equals 0. To solve here, we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. We're getting negative 5 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2. And negative 5 halves is our first answer. Add 5 to both sides. Divide both sides by 2. And a positive 5 halves. You should get 2 answers for things today, because we're looking at an x squared, which means we've got 2 different possibilities for x. Alright? Because again, if either of these, after we plug stuff in, gives us 0, 0 times whatever the other one happens to be will still give us 0. So we've got 2 answers for all of these that we've broken up. If you have questions, please pop into the Google Meet. I think I forgot to get in there yesterday, so that was my bad. If you tried to get in there, sorry. But this is the new stuff. A reminder that we're probably looking at, honestly, probably the first assessment of this unit early next week sometime. So be ready for that. Midterm is on Friday, so make sure that you are passing and have enough assessments done to pass that, so that you're passing at the midterm break, and I will see you in class.